With a $150 price tag for a 7-course tasting menu, the first question that will pop in everyone's mind is it worth it? With established restaurants like Be More Pacific, Jerry's Grill, Patis and Toyo, Seafood City, and Filipiniana, is there space for a new Filipino restaurant to thrive in the city? Hey, what's up everybody? If you're new here, hi, my name is Paulo Almacen. I'm a Filipino cook and food enthusiast. And in this channel, I share both recipes that brings me joy and also I talk about restaurants that touch my soul. So if you're into that, consider subscribing. Houston just opened its first Filipino tasting menu restaurant with Chikahan. And if you're Bisaya, makaingon jud mog mao ni chika. It's a Tagalog and Bisaya word that means gossip or rumor. It's also a word frequently used to describe two or more people who are catching up with each other. And it means chit-chat, small talk, or having an inconsequential conversation. It's Chef Andrew Musico's take on Filipino-inspired cuisine using most of its ingredients centered on what's in season here in Texas. And according to the website, they aim to captivate the palate of Filipino enthusiasts and become a destination for those seeking a memorable and extraordinary dining experience. And in this video, help me find out if Chikahan is worthy to become the new gossip in town. Let's dive into the menu. Before I start sharing my thoughts on each dish, I think it's important to point out that this is not a sponsored video. I was not paid to say the things I'm about to say, and although I got the chance to meet Chef Andrew Musico at the restaurant, my opinion about each dish is just that, my opinion. I visited the restaurant 2 weeks after they opened, and naturally, they don't have a liquor license at this time. As I was sat down, I was served with a warm towel, just like any other fancy restaurant, which signals the start of the tasting menu. I was asked about what I would like to drink, and the only options that they have are still or sparkling water and your choice of soda. So I opted for Coke Zero and some still water. Since this is a Filipino-inspired tasting menu, I was hoping for non-alcoholic drink options like Calamansi, Dalandan, or guava juice. So I was a bit bummed when they don't have that available at the time. I feel like having that as an option gives you the chance to fully immerse yourself in what Filipino flavors has to offer. But I also love my Coke Zero, so you know what? We can't have everything, right? And before you know it, I was served with the first dish on the tasting menu, called Snacks. It comes with 3 amuse-bouche pieces, which are lumpiang sariwa, tortang talong, and longganisa yaki. The lumpiang sariwa is made with carrots, golden beets, greens, mushrooms, and nori, and it's wrapped in crepe, served over a cauliflower sauce. The tortang talong is an eggplant omelette with fermented rice, shrimp crisps, bird's eye chilies, homemade banana ketchup, and shredded micro cilantro. The longganisa yaki is made with smoked and sweet Filipino sausage, which sits on a bed of fried leeks topped with tomato tare, dill, egg gel, and achara. The vegetables in the lumpiang sariwa had the perfect crunch. The cauliflower peanut sauce was great, and I actually had to taste it again because the sauce may have some shrimp paste, or it tasted like shrimp paste, and although I didn't expect that, I actually really liked it. I like that they used crepe to wrap the lumpia and that they made it look like a cornet. And the look reminds me so much of French Laundry's signature canapé. The tortang talong was soft, but was bursting with flavors. I like that they used homemade ketchup, and I also like the smokiness and the spice at the end. But I have to say, the longganisa yaki was my favorite starter. The homemade sausage tasted traditional, but the addition of the fried leeks added texture and onion flavor that went really well with the achara. You know it's great Filipino food if after you taste a specific dish, you start looking for the rice. That's how good it was. This may sound crazy considering that this is just a starter, but the longanisa yaki was one of my favorite things in the tasting menu. The flavors were on point, and the added texture from the fried leeks were unexpected but welcomed. You guys, it was just so good. I really don't have anything else to say about this dish. This was one of the best things in the tasting menu. Period. Course 2 was their interpretation of Kinilau. It's similar to ceviche, but it's the Philippines' native method of preparing raw seafood that uses vinegar and citrus to denature the ingredients. Chikahan's version is made with seasonal white fish, and in this case, red snapper, roselle vinegar, fried shallots, blood orange, cilantro, and homemade leche de tigre, which is a spicy citrus marinade used in Peruvian cuisine. I found this course interesting because the roselle vinegar, which is made of hibiscus, didn't just add a floral flavor in this dish, but it also added a pink hue. I gotta say, this dish looks expensive. Obviously, this is not how you traditionally prepare kinilaw, but after tasting it, I did feel that it was staying true to the ingredients that you typically find in kinilaw. There's fish, there's citrus, and there's vinegar, and it tasted good. I really enjoy this dish as well, and I don't think I'll change anything in this dish. If anything though, I do wish that there were more slices of fish. 4 pieces weren't enough for me, but I'm greedy like that. Course 3 is sinigang. In this case, it's a risotto. And like most, if not all of the Filipinos, I love sinigang. So when I was looking at this menu at first glance, this was the dish that I really was excited to eat the most. Traditionally, it's sour and savory soup made with meat, vegetables, chilies, and most importantly, the distinct tamarind taste that you can either get from using a sinigang mix or tamarind paste. Chef Andrew's steak is made with arborio rice, tomatillo puree, parmesan, trout roe, serrano gel, mustard greens, candy cane beets, and a piece of scallop. So what's interesting about this dish is that the moment I tasted it, I swear I could taste the tamarind. I asked both Oscar and Ashley, who were serving me that evening, as well as Chef Andrew himself, and they all said that there wasn't any tamarind in this dish. I have to say that this is an example of a dish that was well thought out, intentional, and although non-traditional, it was heavily influenced by the flavors of sinigang. I was really impressed with this dish. Listen, there are 2 ways I see people eat sinigang. There are people like me who grab a plate for my rice, and then I grab a bowl where I put the sinigang in, and maybe dollop some of that soup to my rice, drink the soup like people normally would so that the rice itself won't get soggy. And then there are people like my brother and nephew who grabs a cup of rice and mix it in a bowl with the sinigang. When I asked Chef Andrew what inspired him to include this course in the tasting menu, he said that he loves to eat it just like my brother and my nephew. He elevated the dish using arborio rice, but cooked it with a homemade sour and savory broth and made his version of a Filipino classic. Was this course traditional? No. But after tasting this course, I was able to understand more about what Chef Andrew's vision is for this restaurant. And although I have to say that if there's anything I wish was different in this dish, that was that I wish there was more than 1 scallop. I understand that the star of this dish is the homemade broth and the arborio rice, and trust me, I'm Filipino, so I do appreciate a good amount of rice. I just felt like this needed more protein. That being said, this was also one of my favorite course in the tasting menu. Moving on to course number 4, we have laing. It's a Filipino dish made with shredded taro leaves with meat or seafood cooked in coconut milk. It usually has siling labuyo, lemongrass, garlic, onion, ginger, and shrimp paste. Chikahan's version is made with grilled bok choy brushed with coconut koji. It sits on a bed of traditional laing sauce and topped with spinach dust. I also really like that the bok choy was beautifully blanched, so it still has a crunchy texture and it wasn't overcooked. There also isn't taro leaves in this dish, and it was substituted with spinach in the sauce and also in the spinach dust. Again, another hit in my books. I really like the intention of this dish. It was to introduce the flavors of laing to somebody who hasn't really had Filipino cuisine yet. It was definitely an interesting take to a beloved Filipino classic. It smells like laing and it also tasted like laing. Next, we have course 5, which is called Chicken 4 Ways. It is served with a traditional chicken tinola soup made with chicken broth, ginger, aromatics, and green papaya. Beside that was Hainanese-style poached chicken breast with sweet soy and spinach cream. And it's wrapped in cabbage and topped with a spicy cucumber. The third way was using inasal rillette, which is pulled chicken meat cooked in its own fat, wrapped in wonton, deep fried in panko, served in lollipop style with the bone in, on top of an inasal sauce. And the fourth way is by incorporating sinangag, which is Filipino garlic fried rice folded with the chicken fat and topped with chicken skins and chives. I have to say that this course was my favorite on the tasting menu. Aside from the absence of malunggay, the tinola soup was very reminiscent of home, which I really liked. The Hainanese chicken breast was soft, juicy, and was very well done. The spinach cream and the cabbage complemented the chicken breast, and it went really well with the crunchy texture and the savory taste of the chicken rillette. And of course, I'm Filipino, and incorporating chicken fat in the garlic rice, as well as the added texture from the crispy chicken skin and the chives, tie the whole dish together. It was a cohesive, well thought out, and beautiful take on a Filipino classic. Guys, what's crazy is that I made a similar version of this course about 6 months ago, and you can find it in my YouTube channel. So go ahead and check it out. But going back to this dish, I really think it was 10 out of 10, and really, it was my favorite thing in the tasting menu. So that wrapped off our first 5 courses in the tasting menu. And I have to say that at this point, I was already really full. If you think back to what I was already served at this point, we had sinigang, which was arborio rice and broth, as well as there was such an ample amount of rice in the chicken 4 ways. And I think this is important to note because when people go to tasting menus, one of the things that we are really afraid of is that we won't get full, right? Or if you feel like you're not satiated enough, or you feel like you needed more from that tasting menu. And I didn't feel that in this dish. And I think that it's important to note that because I was really scared about that coming in. With only 7 courses, the question that I was really asking myself was, would I ever be full at the end of this meal? And honestly, I was. So that was really, really great. Before the next course, we were served with an in-house hibiscus and ginger beer palate cleanser, and it was off the menu. Like I said, at this moment, I'm already really full. But we're off to desserts. So the 6th course in the tasting menu is called Camote Q. It is usually a deep-fried caramelized sweet potato coated with brown sugar served in a stick. And it's one of my favorite snacks in the Philippines. Chikahan's version is roasted sweet potato cheesecake. It is coated with a brown sugar glaze laying on a bed of bay leaf brown butter crumble with pomegranate seeds and dusted with hibiscus powder. Warning, I know it's served in a stick, but don't try to lift the camote because it is a cheesecake and it may fall apart. So, you're not supposed to eat it like you traditionally would in a Camote Q. So there are 2 desserts in this tasting menu, and this was my favorite of the 2. The brown sugar glaze, pomegranate, and brown butter crumble worked really well with the camote. And I didn't expect that. I really can't explain this, but this was a very, very good dessert, and I'm still thinking about it right about now. And of course, last but not the least, this is the Meyer Calamansi Tart, made with Meyer lemons, calamansi, house meringue, coconut cookie, white chocolate mousse, and lemon verbena leaves. And like I said, I prefer the other dessert to this one. And that's just because I think that the citrus from both the Meyer lemons and the calamansi was overpowering the other ingredients in this dish. Don't get me wrong, for people who know me, they know that I really love citrus-forward desserts, but I just wasn't a big fan of this one. It wasn't bad at all. I just prefer the Camote Q. And I think that's what's great about tasting menus is that there are courses that you prefer more than the other ones. And there was a surprise at the end for all customers. So this was also off the menu. This was Rice Krispies made with black and white rice with fish sauce marshmallow. And honestly, I really think that that was a great way to end the tasting menu. And that's it, guys. That was the end of my culinary journey at Chikahan. So now it's time to answer the question of the day. Is it worth the $150 price tag and the hype? And my answer is a big yes. However, I also think that not everyone will agree with me. Why? Simply because it's not for everyone. Okay, hear me out. Like I mentioned earlier, Houston has a variety of Filipino restaurants available in the city. And with established restaurants like Be More Pacific, Jerry's Grill, Patis and Toyo, Seafood City, and Filipiniana, is there a space for a new Filipino restaurant to thrive in the city? And honestly, there is. And that's because Chikahan occupies the seat for the first Filipino multi-course meal of small portions of food that are served in a single meal, also known as a tasting menu, here in Houston. It's not meant to cater to your typical weeknight dinner. Chef Andrew Musico's reimagination of familiar flavors and textures, as well as his techniques and his decision to source most of his restaurant's ingredients here in Texas, puts Chikahan in a different category than the rest of the Filipino restaurants here in Houston. And it's up to you guys to decide if that in itself is worth it or not. And now that the Michelin Guide is in Texas, do they have a chance of getting a star? I think it's too early to answer that at this point. Based on everything that I shared with you in this video, do you think they deserve a star? Alright, in conclusion, I think that the fact that they are Houston's first Filipino-inspired tasting menu is a huge win in itself. Not just for the Filipino and Asian community, but also for food enthusiasts and for people who are celebrating milestones and special occasions. And in my opinion, it is a great opportunity to experience familiar Filipino flavors and techniques in a new light. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't forget to click the like button, comment what you like or don't like about this video, and consider subscribing. Alright guys, if you guys like my review videos, you can find more of them right over here. Alright, until next time, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!